Hello, check one, check two. Hello, check one.
Am I audible? DK sir, do you want to message and say we are starting? A very good evening to all. It is my privilege to welcome Professor Virendra Kumar Malhotra, Member Secretary ICSSR, who has graciously agreed to deliver the valedictory address today at the closing ceremony of Shodhotsav 2022 National Young Researchers Conference, hosted by the Research and Consultancy Division of Dr. B.R. Ambedkar University, Delhi. We are just waiting for Sir to join. Yes, yeah. I'm honored to welcome our registrar, Dr. Nitin Malik, deans and directors, faculty members, session chairs, panelists, staff, participants, volunteers of the conference, and our students. A very warm welcome to the closing ceremony of Shodhotsav 2022. As we celebrate and savor this moment, the research around the pandemic must go on. I am reminded of some lines from the American poet Robert Frost. These woods are lovely, dark, and deep, but I have promises to keep and miles to go before I sleep, and miles to go before I sleep. I now invite Professor Geeta Venkatraman, Dean, Research and Consultancy Division, to welcome the gathering.
Thank you, Kritika. Professor Malhotra, a warm welcome to you. And thank you very much for agreeing to be our valedictory speaker. Dr. Nitin Malik, he's always there for us to call upon him. And he has stepped in today to actually give the valedictory address. Unfortunately, our Vice Chancellor, Professor Anu Singh Lathar, could not join. She is indisposed and therefore she's not been able to join us, but she's there with us in spirit because research is something that is close to her heart. And I hope that she's able to see our live streaming at least. We also have Dr. Yogesh Snehi on the dais, who's our Deputy Dean. And I know that he will be doing the formal vote of thanks towards the end of the ceremony. But I do want to place it on record that without Dr. Snehi's effort and Dr. Arindam Banerjee, who was the chair of our organizing committee, we wouldn't have had this function. And so please, strong applause. And of course to Kritika, I was telling Rukmini that we have to declare Kritika an AUD asset. So she's amazing in terms of how she helps with all the organizing. So many thanks, Kritika. So we've had a wonderful 3 days. And I'm kind of recalling the first Shodhotsav that happened, and Rukmini will remember this wonderful publishers panel we had. And I had the same feeling that I have had then, which is that I've learned so much during this 3 days. I would like to start with Professor Guleria's inaugural speech. And, when he agreed to come and give the talk here, he wanted to know what kind of an audience will I have? Will there be medical people? I said, no, we don't have any medical people here. They're going to be social science and humanities students and faculty members. And he did a wonderful presentation where he brought in the elements of social sciences and humanities. And in fact, it went beyond the pandemic. He was someone who said that during the medical education itself should link itself with social sciences and humanities, because medical profession is not just a science, it's also an art. And the only way in which you can have a holistic way of treating somebody is to also understand them as human beings and to have empathy towards them. So I think his inaugural address set the stone for all of us and gave a lot of things for us to think about. And subsequently, we had a large number of research panels. There were parallel sessions, and young researchers from all across the country presented. Many of them presented online, and still we had large gatherings within our physical presentations. So it was very heartening on the second day, particularly to see that parallel session khatam hi nahi ho raha hai. So we had the next session needing to start, and we were like, they're not coming down, they're not finishing, which shows you that the kind of discussions that happened. And the chair came back and said to me, it was such a wonderful session. I really enjoyed myself. So these are all the, the little joys that you get when you hear that there's been a good participation, a good discussion. I too attended several of the panel discussions which happened in the evenings, usually the last event. These were more intimate. We had a small gathering which was there. But when you have a small gathering, I think the insights that you get are so much more deeper. And I would like to share one of the things that, I don't think you tend to think about it during the pandemic. Each one of us, I think, had felt a sense of isolation, right? From the initial euphoria of sitting at home and work from home was, initially treated with, I think, there was some worry, but people were also experimenting. They were doing all kinds of things in their home. But the kinds of isolations that set in, I don't think people realize that. And one of the accounts that happened in the panel discussion was from our Professor Anita Ghai, where she talked about a true sense of isolation that she felt when she became a COVID sufferer. And she needed help that was not available. And one thing that she said touched me. She said, I've been through a whole lot of illnesses, but through every one of them, my mother could come and hug me. She could touch me. She could, help me through that journey. And this was the first time when, the nature of the disease was such that you did not have access to that. So one of the things that emerged from these panel discussions was that it's going to take us a very, very long time and a lot of research to actually understand what we've all been through. And I think in that sense, these 3 days that we've had, where people have not just spoken about the research that they did during the pandemic, but also research which related directly to the pandemic, we've really got food for thought and lots more questions to answer. And the complexity of the situations that we faced are only slowly emerging. And the last panel, in fact, was even more interesting because a number of our research scholars were in a situation where they could not access their fieldwork sites. They could not go there. They could not go to the archives. So the whole experience of, working maybe with a digital archive, working with a text, mining it to the maximum extent, and all the different new experiences that have emerged from the pandemic, many of that came up and they're not always all good, right? I think I will stop with this and say that we need another Shodhotsav, which looks at the effects that the pandemic has left us with. And in fact, Anita Ghai reserved one of the sessions for the next Shodhotsav. She said, we must have a panel on disability and research on disability. So with that, I hope we'll take such things forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am. I would now request Dr. Nitin Malik, our registrar, to share his thoughts with us.
Good evening to all. At the outset, on behalf of Dr. B.R. Ambedkar University, Delhi, we welcome Professor V.K. Malhotra from the ICSSR. And in fact, we would have been more privileged if we would have been over here in physical presence at the Dr. B.R. Ambedkar University, Delhi. And even I tried for it. Let me be very transparent on the matter when I asked his office staff that if possible, please ask sir to be present amongst us during the valedictory. But he is also having some health issues for which he has been advised not to travel outside very often. And that is the reason the sir said, but in spite of that, of his busy schedule and health problem, he is present amongst us in a virtual form and we'll have his blessings over here. I am sure for that. So thank you very much, sir, for accepting our offer and to be over here to give blessings to all the research scholars, faculty, and in fact to the family of Dr. B.R. Ambedkar University, Delhi. Professor Geeta Venkatraman, the Dean Research and Consultancy, very openly and very smartly, she has thanked all the organizing committees and members of this Shodhotsav. But I will over here make a big clap for her for carrying out this Shodhotsav in such a beautiful manner, where each and every one of the participants, including the administration and every one of us, could feel the vibrations of the research activities and the Shodhotsav being discussed and carried out over here in the university campus during these last 3 days. So a big salute to our Dean Research and Consultancy, who has really worked hard along with her team to carry out this Shodhotsav in such a successful manner, and especially the research scholars. Sir, on behalf of the Honorable Vice Chancellor of Dr. B.R. Ambedkar University, as she could not come over here today, she is in fact not feeling well. She has issues with her back pain problem, and in fact she wanted to come over here, but as rightly said by Professor Geeta, she is with us virtually, and her blessings and her directions and her visions and missions are always for this university, and that is how we are all connected over here at present. This Shodhotsav has been majorly focused on pandemic, if I am not mistaken. That is what we had been carried out. And definitely this pandemic period, which we all underwent, sometimes it feels that it gave a scary kind of a feeling to all of us, because we lost many of our near dear ones, many friends, many members in the family. But on the other side, this has given a new dimensions of carrying out the activities of life, including all aspects, and even the research is also not untouched with it. If research was only to be carried out in the fields, to carry out going to the field and carry out the research, it has also taught us, this pandemic has taught us that how we can carry out the research through an alternative medium of the records in a digitalized form or using the technology. And that is a silver lining which I see as being myself into a university, where we always say or always feel that research has to be a practical based, field based. But yes, now we have an alternate ways of carrying out the research. This pandemic has at least taught us for that. No doubt that this research frontiers has to be linked with the emerging technologies, and that is how the technology has also developed. Just imagine the days, as I feel that the government and all the stakeholders were always behind the universities to go on virtual kind of a teaching or to carry out MOOCs to prepare kind of a module so that you can be connect to any of the student outside the domain of the university jurisdiction. And we were always lagging behind in spite of all technology. But as a silver lining, the COVID pandemic taught us one thing very important, that all the students, scholars and teachers were in connect with each other in during this tremendous time of difficulty. And that is what I feel is going to open new doors. Like Professor Geeta said, that Anita Ghai ma'am has kept herself available, and she wants that disabilities to be discussed in one of the panels. What the feeling of a disabled person, or how it was untouched or touched during the COVID pandemic. So obviously, COVID pandemic is going to give us some more and more frontiers and doors to be opened for further research to be carried out. In this university, our Honorable Vice Chancellor, along with the deans and faculty, has always been striving towards the research. Ours is a unique university, sir. We focus and proudly make to us that our university is focused on the arts, humanity, and liberal studies. And that is how I connected with to the opening remarks or opening things which Professor Goleria had said it over here. In spite of being a medical doctor, he focused how important it is to understand the human society and human being in all to carry out any welfare to the human society and to the human at last. So if we want to understand a human being, definitely we need to understand the cultural aspect, we need to understand the social aspect, we need to understand the evolution of human, we need to understand the psychological aspect, we need to understand all other aspects along with the technology to be towards the usefulness of the human society. Like ICSSR, which has been carrying out a revolution these days, because as an administrator, I keep on signing all the documents. ICSSR has been very active in the few last years and very generous to give grants to our faculty as well as the research scholars for carrying out the research. And I will request from this platform, sir, that this generosity should be extended more by giving and enhancing the grants to the faculty and the scholars so that they can do good research. The same way the Ambedkar University is also going ahead under the leadership of the visionary Vice Chancellor and along with the dedicated team of the deans and faculty, that research is a prime importance of Ambedkar University in spite of the constraints of the space or the funds which we have. But definitely whatsoever research is being carried out over here in Ambedkar University is a unique and is of high most importance. And we are proving it. And that is why the scores and NRF ranking and even the things are going up in the research index. We will definitely come to the expectations of the society by meeting the needs of the society, and also to the young research scholars who have come, because I can see it was very nice that these kind of Utsav, Shodhotsav is a platform where we meet number of research scholars which have a new ideas, which have a innovative ideas of carrying out the research, because this generation has a specialized kind. जो ये मेरे सामने में young research scholars हैं, ये दूसरे प्रकार के research scholars हैं, ये हमारे तरीके के research scholar नहीं है जो हम एक defined way में research करते थे. I think we all will agree on it because their ideas and innovation is different. जो हम लोग सोच नहीं सकते थे वो ये already देख चुके हैं और ये out of box सोचते हैं. हम लोग तो एक problem के साथ एक hypothesis. I remember my days when I was a research scholar. I went to my guide and he said कि hypothesis होता है उसको या तो आप prove करो या आपको null hypothesis बनाओ. So we started with that. But these people, if you talk, so definitely they have a different kind of ideas, and I welcome and congratulate all the research scholars who have really contributed and you might have also enjoyed discussing in all the sessions which were held over here. We had 3 panel discussions, 11 research panels, 2 workshops, and a unique kind of a photo exhibition, photo essay exhibition, which was carried out in this Shodhotsav. This is really a unique thing which the Ambedkar University has carried out in this Shodhotsav with the help of the entire team of the research and consultancy. And as I was mentioning, that this is a platform. When I became a assistant professor long time back, 1990, I remember that I had to go for the Indian Science Congress. I'm talking about 1991, I think, 91, yes. So, sir, I went to my head of the department and I asked, sir, that I have been invited, my paper has been accepted into the section of anthropology and archaeology in Indian Science Congress, and I would like to go and present my paper, so kindly sanction me leave. So the answer was not very positive. The answer was, ये तो बड़ा मेला होता है इंडियन साइंस कांग्रेस, इसमें तो दुनिया भर के लोग आते हैं, आप पेपर पढ़ के क्या करेंगे वहां पे. But now, as research has been given a very utmost importance with every parameters to be counted, if you have to carry out a ranking of the university or if you have to carry out your career in the research, it has a very vast contribution. And these kind of utsav are really an eye-opening for all these young scholars, where they come and meet the scholars from different universities, different platforms, and understand that how the research are being carried out in different places and in different disciplines. And also definitely a place to meet also, as I met one of my younger alumni of the Department of Anthropology. I was very much excited when on the other day, this research scholar came to me and said, "Ki sir, I had been listening about you. I had been seeing you on the platform, but it is really nice to meet. And this is what research I am doing." So this is the place where the interaction goes, there the interconnect goes, and further progress of the research goes. So with these words, I will not take more, because we have with us B.K. Malhotra sir, who has revolutionized the ICSSR. And let me tell you, because I am keeping a track on the ICSSR very closely, they are also going to come up with a journal which was closed down long time back. They are rewriting that, and that is going to become very soon into the journal of the ICSSR, which they are going to revive. And if I am right, sir, the journal is going to come very soon, because I was also asked to, if I have to carry out any contribution to be made, but unfortunately coming into administration, I have lost my research tangent. So I always want to come back to research, and let's see, and let's hope, sir, that definitely one day you will accept my contribution also as an accepted publication in the journal. With these words, I again thank you. I thank the Dean Research and Consultancy, Deputy Dean, and all the team, Kritika, all the scholars who have been here. Please forgive us for the constraints which we have in this Ambedkar University of the space and other facilities. But definitely, I again feel that you people might have really enjoyed. And this doors of Ambedkar University on behalf of the Vice Chancellor and all my deans faculties are always open. Anything, anytime you need over here, you are welcome at this Ambedkar University. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for sharing your thoughts and encouraging all of us. We're extremely grateful to have Professor Virendra Kumar Malhotra here with us today to deliver the valedictory address at the closing ceremony of Shodhotsav 2022. Professor Malhotra is presently the Member Secretary of Indian Council of Social Science Research, ICSSR, New Delhi. He has earlier served at Chaudhry Charan Singh University, Meerut, as Head and Professor of the Department of Economics. He also held the role of Coordinator, Admissions and Evaluations at the university. He supervised theses of 8 PhD students and more than 40 MPhil scholars. His research interests include governance, economic development, corporate governance and performance, intellectual property rights, India's concerns, foreign trade, investment, etc. His research project has been on governance and development, a study of major states of India. He's recently published an edited book entitled Disaster Management for 2030 Agenda of SDG, published by Paul Graves, Springer Nature. Another book entitled Economics of Education has been published by Vikas Publications. He has a number of papers published in well-reputed international and national journals in areas of his interest. He's been on board, councils, executive, and important committees of a number of renowned international and national organizations, which include Association of Asian Science Research Councils, India's mission at UNESCO, Indian Council of World Affairs, Indian Council of Cultural Relations, Niti Aayog's Institute, NILERD, National Institute of Labor, Economic Research and Development, and Indian Statistical Institute. Professor Malhotra is a member representative in many renowned international bodies like EQUIP, International Science Council of Asia, UNESCO Subcommittee on Social Science, etc. He's also a part of many consultation groups and think tanks. He's also served as an expert on many international and national selection panels for research awards and fellowship. A very warm welcome to you, sir. It is a great honor to have you with us, sir. Over to you.
Thank you, Kritika. I hope I'm audible.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Right. And thank you, Professor Geeta Venkatraman, the Dean Research and Consultancy of Dr. Ambedkar University. I was listening to your registrar, Professor Malik, also very carefully. And of course, he talked about the constraints offered by administration and how it definitely works as an obstruction to one's academic pursuits. One can appreciate, and I too am realizing the same thing on a number of ways, in fact. But anyway, when you do something extra in addition to your, let's say, expected administrative duties, it gives you immense pleasure. And I'm sure that the way this university is taking interest in research, and I'm sure that in days to come, it would register itself as a major institution of the country in terms of taking lead in research area, especially relating to art, humanities, and social sciences. Professor Anu Singh Lather, the Vice Chancellor of this university, had a conversation with me, I recall, and of course, her presence would have definitely added charm to this event of valedictory. My thanks also go to the Dr. Yogesh, the Deputy Dean on the dais. There are few things which I would like to say before I formally begin. In fact, we know that valedictory is one of the most difficult tasks because all are exhausted. A lot has already happened. People have listened to many speakers at length. There is hardly any appetite left for further hearing of any substantive material. But definitely it becomes little easy for a speaker like me who would like to talk about the basics in research and would like to concentrate in his own way on certain aspects. It makes my task little easier also, in the sense because most people who are part of the audience here, they come from art, humanities, and social science. One concern has already been expressed by citing the example of Professor Guleria, when he said that if there are medical students or there are other than medical students. I remember when we drafted UN Research Roadmap for COVID-19 recovery, which was approved by UN General Assembly in November 2020, we were talking about several dimensions of the problem, especially in social context. Medical context of the issue is one, but the hesitancy towards vaccine, how that hesitancy was removed. how different things were done to make people interested. Initially, the word which was used was physical distancing. In fact, it should have been social distancing. Right. And secondly, the way people were made interested to go about vaccine, maintain distance, isolate themselves. There are new learnings also out of every emerging situation, including such a catastrophic situation all over the world. Nobody ever thought, we did not imagine that the crisis, the pandemic, which took place almost 100 years back, could definitely take a rebirth on this land and could trouble us in this possible way. Over next 10-15 minutes, I would like to concentrate on social science research in India, recent developments and concerns. And I would be assisted by Dr. Nitin. He would run the PowerPoint for me, in fact. We know the history of social science begins with the Age of Enlightenment after 1650, which witnessed a revolution within natural philosophy. Earlier researches within social science domain, they related to moral philosophy, scientific approach, society's problems based on positivism, avoiding the negative and metaphysical speculations. We all know that India is one of the oldest civilizations in the world. And when I say so, the purpose behind saying so is very, very clear, that we have survived every awkward situation in the past, maybe more than 2, 3, 5,000 years. And that is not possible without a society being based on scientificism. So we have longest tradition of research in its own right and documenting also. Social science research came from moral philosophy and was influenced by revolutions. And we will see in coming slide that how it has passed through many revolutions and ages. Mainly social sciences, just to give you an idea about, they include economics, political science, sociology, international relations, geography, education, social anthropology, psychology, social work, defense studies, law, social history, social linguistics, cultural studies, gender studies, and whatnot. Now people are talking about sociology of biology also, and artificial intelligence within psychology also. I will not touch upon those issues because they will complicate our task. So social scientists also constitute scientists. We know they are called today scientists, intellectuals, reformers, strategists, planners, and they work with national, international think tanks, organizations like UN, funding agencies, and policy makers. Social science broaden our horizon as they offer perspectives on society, policy, national, international relations, communication, media, including social media, and very importantly, even democracy. STEM, which is science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, sciences, in comparison to them, social sciences is able to provide insight and processes how science and innovations work can be taken to the society. There is no complete work in science and innovation until society takes interest in that, adopts that, and tries to solve some problems of the society for its well-being. In next slide, I have tried to focus on how the top universities of the world, as per their rankings, they have concentrated in few social science research areas. I'll not speak much about it. You can see it yourself. So somebody concentrates, for example, University of Oxford concentrates on cultural studies, globalization, ethical philosophy, and then we have Toronto, Cambridge, Columbia, University College London, University of Michigan, etc. And you could see which are the areas that they are concentrating on for the period 2011 to 2021. So I've tried to include 10 years in this presentation, just to keep things simple and not to talk about the shifts that have taken place over time. Next, please. This statistics relates to top 10 countries of the world, which have produced maximum number of researchers in social science domain. You can see United States as 16,26,000. And see the gap between United States and UK is also very, very significant. Nearly, let's say 30 to 40% of what United States is producing, in fact. And now you could look at India. I very keenly looked at the statistics pertaining to 2020 also, which was 10% of United States. Now it is slightly more than that. So these are the publications in 10 years from these countries in social science domain. Next, please. Next slide would give you an idea of the impact. And impact takes place in terms of publication, citations, how many people read those papers, and then cite from those papers. So citation, whether we talk through I index or H index, is a very, very important parameter to look at the impact of the publication. So from these universities, important universities, the number of publications for 11 to 20 is given and their citations are also given. So per paper citation statistics is also there with me, but I would not like to speak about it. You can yourself see. And relatively, the countries which are making lesser impact at the international stage, they have a lower citation than what is here. A little about social science research in India. In next slide, cultural treatise on social philosophy and normative social thought can be traced back, and it can be traced as far as back to Manu's Dharmashastra. We know and have heard about Kautilya's Arthashastra also, which was sometimes in 320 BC. We have heard about Megasthenes on India, also basically talking about society and culture. In 1020, Al-Biruni observed, gave his observation on Indian society, religion, and culture in his book Tariq al-Hind. In not many people have made a mention about the societies in the world when they travel to those countries, and Francois Bernier traveled in the Mughal Empire AD 1656 to 68 is another example of that. And most of them, they present before us an account of city life, architecture, buildings, stupas, pillars, architecture of temples. Perhaps I have not seen the modern temples as good as they were constructed or made thousands and thousands of years back. Harappa civilization, we know we still keep getting through excavations the remains of that, and we keep still analyzing those remains. Professor Malik was talking about his interest in archaeology also, navigation, meteorology, and textile and programming also to some extent. Very soon we would all be celebrating Yoga, International Yoga Day, but it has existed for thousands of years. Here in India itself, we were practicing Ayurveda and meditation also, which is said to be a very, very important thing to keep human psychology in a good direction. In fact, modern social science began to develop in India after British colonization, as they didn't have much idea about Indian society. Next, please. Social science research in India, I think we know initially British introduced Western education system in India, as it was very difficult for them to administer India without that. And a number of organizations, Asiatic Society of Bengal, Academic Association in 1821, Banaras Institute in 1861, Bengal Social Science Association in 1867, and universities of Mumbai, Madras, and Calcutta were founded in 1857, and then were founded Allahabad University and Aligarh Muslim University in 1875. And then began India's freedom struggle that led many thought leaders to study the society, economy, culture, history, law, constitution, anthropology, etc., from the perspective of independence also. It gives us an insight that how at different points of time, the issues, the subjects, the discipline domain have differed over time as far as social sciences research are concerned. They have always been based on the demands of the society. Economic problems became the key issues to be highlighted and research to expose and oppose the British rule. 1947 to 1969 was the period when we were beginning to decide about our own fate after independence, while we were faced with extreme poverty, illiteracy, inequality, imbalances, and underdevelopment. Major research institutions that appeared in India, they included Delhi School of Economics in 1949, Indian Statistical Institute in 1948, National Council of Applied Economic Research in 1956. Satyamurthy in 1984 wrote that marked on an emphasis on economics and development, because initially it was considered that social science is all about economics and development, but how it has differed over the time also. While it was realized that other disciplines, sociology, political science, public administration, development studies, etc., they have also gained in terms of importance over time. ICSSR, which I'm representing, was established in May 1969, and I assure Professor Malik that there is no dearth of resources in this country for researchers. Right. The only needed thing is that you should have a sound proposal and a great acumen to do research and make an impact. There are several funding agencies which are flooded with funds. And Government of India, through a new educational policy, also intends to promote research in various ways and intensify efforts in those directions. So after opening of or establishment of ICSSR, it opened many avenues for social science research like projects, fellowships, grants to research institutes, publications, seminars, workshops, capacity building, etc. From 1969 to 1919, pre-liberalization period, the emphasis shifted. I'm talking in very brief, so you can imagine of this emphasis shifting from self-sufficiency in food grains to increasing productivity in agriculture and industry. And we know Mahalanobis model, how shift from agriculture to industry was taking place. Greater intensity of socialistic policies in the beginning, nationalization of commercial banks and public sector-led growth. And thereafter, with the onset of liberalization, LPG, liberalization, privatization, and globalization in early 1990s, the emphasis shifted to altogether a different territory in terms of researches. And in the very recent past, last 5 to 10 years, the focus has been on rural and urban transformation, smart cities, environment, climate change, water resources, health quality. COVID is just an example, but prior to COVID, we were talking about universal health. Access and cost of education, employment, skills, technology, and so on. All these issues are interdisciplinary and multidisciplinary in nature. We must try to note that. We know that there are a number of international organizations like World Bank, IMF, UNESCO, FAO, ILO, WHO, and private organizations like Ford Foundation also, and then governments and private think tanks also who are into this research funding and also promoting. As far as share of researches in proportion of GDP is concerned, we have two sound and comparable statistics relating to 2005 and 11. Both these statistics have been presented in NEP 2020 also. You can notice that how small continues to be. We are spending much less than 1% of GDP on research and development. Of that, major part go towards engineering, technology, and natural sciences and agricultural sciences, and very small part, 0.024% goes to social sciences. I have been very consistently arguing social sciences and their researches are very important, because until society improves itself, it definitely reaches a stage where it can appreciate new developments, adapt itself to those developments, and talk of the new changes taking place every day. And nothing much is going to take place. We know our own ills and also the ills of other underdeveloped, less developed, and maybe backward regions of the world, and India as well. In next slide, we would see that how different countries are spending on R&D as proportion of their GDP. So ours is 0.69. We intend to take it to 2% in next 20 years. And we expect a rise of let's say 1.1. This statistic is going up to 2, with a rise of, let's say, 10 to 20% on an annual basis. We know South Korea and Israel are spending or investing more than 4% of their GDP. And Japan, despite the fact it happens to be really a large-sized economy among top 5 countries of the world, so is the case with Germany and USA. They are spending nearly 3.5% of their GDPs on the research and development activities. Next, please. In next slide, we have tried to analyze how different topmost institutions of the country are concentrating on social science researches and what are the key areas of their researches for last 10 years. So you can see ICSSR itself, University of Delhi, JNU, IITs also, which have a and Indian Institute of Science and their social science department or faculty. Next, please. This is how the position of India in social science domain over last 5 years in particular has. Professor Malik was talking about ICSSR getting revolutionized. It would become more apparent here. Our share and our collaboration, we were collaborating with, India was collaborating with 100 odd countries till 2015. We were having less than 2% or around 2% share in global social science researches. And our place was ranking was in the range of 11 to 12. You can have a look at number of publications also. Next slide will show you the difference that last 5 years have made. I was thinking that COVID should not offer us this challenge that we produce less researches or less publications captured by Scopus as compared to 2019. But you look at the statistics for 2020 and 2021 also. Last year, in fact, we registered a rise by almost 4,500 papers as captured by Scopus. And today we are collaborating with almost 150 countries in the world. And our share in world publication has risen from less than 2% 5-6 years back to 4.4% now. And our ranking has risen from 11-12 position to 5th position all over the world. So that gives us confidence that something which we consider that is not possible, despite the fact we are investing less resources on research and development, especially in social science domain, but that has become possible. Next slide gives us an idea that how interdisciplinarity is entering into this domain. We are applying big data. Everywhere consumer behavior is being studied. Wherever we go, if we are using any electronic gadgets, whenever we press our hands, we are being watched by uneyed people, in fact. And big data that they are gathering is of immense value for the new market creators or market students also. So artificial intelligence and machine learning, they are definitely helping them to analyze these statistics and see the people's behavior from different perspectives. We all know the examples of Netflix, Alexa, Google Assistant, Siri also. So how they are being used. Next, please. Next slide is about ICSSR, how it was established in 1969 as an agency of the government to promote and fund social science research under Ministry of Education. It makes suggestions to Government of India on several matters and on all matters which are referred to it by the government. In 2018, number of ministries take our advice and support with regard to several matters. A slight mention of that has been made here. Impress was launched in 2018, and it is the largest social science research scheme of the government of India and perhaps the most successful scheme so far. Next slide gives you an idea about our footprint in different parts of the country. You could see we have 24 research institutes and 6 regional centers. Thereafter, you have a little idea about, because I was conveyed that I should talk about certain research schemes of ICSSR and how scholars in general could benefit from our schemes, etc. or scheme. So we have different types of fellowship for all layers of scholars: national, senior, postdoctoral, doctoral scholars, projects including special calls. We had a COVID call, which was noticed by UN also. And we worked with UN to develop its research roadmap. Seminars, conferences, workshops, and lectures, books, journals, and monographs, training and capacity building program. I would expect your university to take up this capacity building program from ICSSR in coming days. Data services. Now you tell me which data, which research paper do you want from the world to be accessed, and our NASDOC is capable of connecting you with that kind of publications all over the world. Next slide gives you how different domains were selected under Impress. So you can have a look at these domains: state and democracy, politics, law and economy, social media and technology, science and education, health and environment, agriculture and rural development, growth, trade and economic policy, governance, employment, skills and rural transformation, media, culture and society, and urban development. And next slide will give you an example of how different subdomains have emerged out in these domain areas. So any research scholar interested in further research can definitely take clues from these domain areas and subdomain areas, which are calling the shots all over the world and which have good impact in terms of research collaborations, in terms of publications also. Next slide would give you ICSSR's priorities. We seek consultation from all over the world and largely from India, and they give us an idea at a point of time that which kind of researches we should be concentrating on or promoting at the national or international level. So you can, it's a long list: COVID-19, health infrastructure, Atmanirbhar Bharat, new education policy, scaling up education, interdisciplinary, transdisciplinary, multidisciplinary researches, innovations, patents and development, governance, migration, whether internal or external. We were talking about food security. Now we are talking about nutritional security also. Unemployment is not only a problem in the developing part of the world, but it has become a problem even in the developed part of the world. So analyzing those issues. And I'm sure those of you who would be interested, they can see through that on our website also. In next slide, you will get an idea about our international collaborations or international engagement with the UN research roadmap I'm talking about. We developed the second pillar of that. And UNESCO, we have been deeply associated with Science Council of Asia, Science Council, International Science Council, Unite, and UNESCO, as I just said, Association of Asian Social Science Research Councils, and CLACSO, which is the largest body of Latin American and African countries in social science domain. Besides that, we have been collaborating with European Union, ICUP, Europe-India platform we constituted in 2017, and almost all European countries. Right now, we are having collaborative projects with India, Finland, and these are multilateral. I'm talking right now about multilateral collaborations. I'll come to bilateral collaborations a little afterwards. So through ICUP, we are doing multilateral collaborations. And then we have Science Council of Asia also, in which 18 countries and 32 member organizations are there. Last year itself, we organized, I mean, 2022 itself, we organized its annual conference in India where the theme was science, technology, and social science research together for a better world. And next slide will give you an idea of how we are having bilateral researches and with what kind of agencies. With many countries, we have collaboration with multiple agencies. And in many countries, we have collaboration with their apex agencies in social science domain or overall domain. So you can again see all major countries are covered here. Next slide gives you an idea of what kind of teams we have undertaken for researches with major collaborators in terms of ICUC, which is a multilateral arrangement, and then South Africa, UKRI, UK Research and Innovation, British ESRC, and Ministry of Science, most of Taiwan, Japan, or Switzerland, or European Commission. So you can see this list, how research areas have been identified, how new these are, and how innovative and creative these are in terms of thinking, talking about something new and trying to make their own impact. Next slide gives you an idea about the think tanks with which we are connected. So ministries are there, IITs are there, IIMs are there, the specialized bodies of the government of India are there, universities are of course there. And now we have transcended beyond social science to have transdisciplinary collaborations also. Next slide will give you a sense of what we have as major activities in the name of project. What is our annual target? Somewhere around 700 to 800 in terms of project. And in terms of fellowship also, almost 1,200 fellowships to be awarded every year. Next slide will give you the top scholarship of the country, which is represented by our national fellows, what they are doing right now. So their topics gives you an idea that what are the areas of their concentration in terms of research. So evaluating different approaches for sustainable use of groundwater, strategizing distributed renewable energy system, engineering education, Sagarmala, urban geoportal, strategic framework and efficacy of economic corridors, river restoration, cultural heritage, and Tantra Yuktis, another methodological ground which comes from deep and scientific Indian tradition, in fact. So something to do with Indian knowledge system also. Next slide will give you an idea of our output. I mean, the kind of researches that we are supporting, how it is giving us an output in terms of publications. For last 4 years, so this is statistics is for the period 2018-19 to 21-22. In last 4 years, our supported researchers have produced 4,259 papers. It gives you an idea of, the next slide gives you an idea of our recent publications. Before I convey my thanks to you, the next slide will give you an idea of our new focus areas also, which are cultural studies, diaspora studies, linguistic studies. There are many Indian texts under knowledge system which were produced thousands of years or hundreds of years back, but are no longer there with us. But they exist in foreign languages. So we intend to do researches on that and get those translated in Indian languages also. So policy studies on policy initiatives taking for building new India such as Swachh Bharat, Jan Dhan, Ujjwala, Ayushman, Atal Pension, Skill India, Make in India, food and nutritional security, doubling of farmers' income, climatic change, disaster management, mainstreaming the tribal and scheduled caste populations, Industry 4.0, startup, direct benefit transfer, smart city, urban development, and so on. And as I was just talking about, translating or getting translated the missing Indian text, which made India great, a golden bird of the past. So that future we are looking forward to see in terms of research contribution in days to come also. So thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to join with the faculty and the scholarship of Dr. B.R. Ambedkar University. On this evening, I'm sure that I could share some of important things for the benefit of young scholars and maybe the faculty of the university. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. You've touched upon so many thrust areas of research, not only across India, across the world, talked about citations, collaborations, the Impress scheme, quite a spectrum of ideas that you've given us and our research scholars sitting here. As we move on with the program, we would like to demonstrate the beta version of a web-based solution prepared by Mr. Santulan Chaube, Research Scholar 2020 batch from the School of Business, Public Policy and Social Entrepreneurship. He has developed a technological framework using aggregation methodology to search information about journals. He's currently on study leave from the Delhi government, where he is a joint director. In the next few minutes, he will briefly take you through the solution that he has prepared.
Thank you. Namaskar, good evening. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to demonstrate a small software. The basic purpose of this software is solving a problem. The problem is very simple. We want to find the information about a journal or a set of journals. So many journals are there. So this information was not available at one place. This information is available in form of data sets on various websites. So as a researcher, when I try to find a journal, I go to more than one site. When I want to find the ranks, I have to go to ABDC site, I find the rank. If I want to have the ranking of other impact factor or citation database, then I have to go to some other site to get the information. So this information is available in Scopus and the Web of Science, UGC, and we have to find many sites to find the information. Second was that about that journal, it is still live or it is discontinued or it is in the that clone list of the UGC. We have to again find the information. So to find one information, I have to go 3 or 4 or 5 or many sites to get the complete information, 360-degree view of a journal. So we try to find some solution for that. The solution, fortunately, we found that this data is available in public domain without any restriction on the Web of Site, Scopus, UGC Care, Semago in case of ranking, and Australian Business Deans Council, that journal quality list is there, where they rank the management journals. So what we have done basically, we have aggregated data from various sites where data is publicly available. We took this data, we have organized based on the key called ISSN key, and we made a search engine for that, where we have a search on various parameters, like search on ISSN. You can also do bulk searching, means if you have data more than, suppose you have a ISSN of 10 or 20 or 50 or 100 numbers, then you can search in a bulk in an Excel file. You can also search on the title base, you can subject, and to demonstrate what else we can do, we have also made a search on the rank based. So rank of ABDC ranking site, you can find that how many journals of A star or A category falls on Scopus or files on Web of Science or find other places. When we did this kind of research and this kind of analysis we do, so we make some infographics here where we find that this is just for example, I'm telling you that we can have the ABDC ranking, and you can find many conclusion here that Scopus and WOS have the maximum share in the ABDC JQL, right? And you will also find very interesting that WS has got percent-wise many more A-star journals if you compare with the Scopus. So this kind of information you can find from the software, right? We also did some small experiment here that how much time it takes when you do searching in a normal way, going to website and finding the journal, or you use this software, what I'm going to demonstrate to you, that how much time it goes down. So it takes very less time if you use the software, right? Now I directly come to the software part, and I will just give you a demo, a small demo for that. And that is just, it will take 1 minute. Yes, it is. Yes, thank you. This is a software which is developed, where you can have 4 types of searches I asked you. So one type of the search which is very common on the ISN site. So suppose you want to search a journal where you have the number. So 2249237 and when I search this journal, because it is coming from aggregated database, it says that this is not available. It is available not with the Scopus, not with Web Science, but it is available with UGC Care List Group 1. So that information is given here. And it is also showing the whatever the language it is showing, it will show the name of the journal there. If you want to have more information, you can click it here, and it will give you more information. 360-degree view, you can call that, about a journal. So this journal is not available in the Scopus, it is available, not available in the WS, and here it is available. And most important, it also says it is discontinued from January 2022. So in case you start preparing for this journal and you find at the later stage that it is not available, then it is frustrating. At very first instance, you find that this journal is not live now, you will not go for that, right? Similarly, if you find some journal where you have information 0925 7535, then see what comes. It also tells that how much time it took to do a search. It took only 0.13 seconds to get the information from all the databases, that it is ABDC rank A, SGR rank is this, H index is this, SGR and site score is 7.8. Right? It also tells you that this Scopus may be available here, it is available on the Bureau of Science also. So at one place we are getting all information instead of getting to various sites and getting information on that. This about one journal. Now what happened if you are having more than one journal, right? So here we have made a provision that you can upload an Excel file and it will give you the search, and it will give you the outcome in the bulk file. For example, so for that, you have to first download the Excel file. When you come here, it will say sample Excel has been downloaded. Then you have to choose a file. For the convenience of this presentation, I have made here the files, and I will say sample 10, suppose, or sample 20 I want to upload. So I will search a file, and I will say upload CSV file. It will upload, and within a few seconds, it will tell you that it has searched the data, and data is here. It has taken 3.417 seconds only, and there is a search. So when you come here, it will tell you the information. So it tells in one way, this is 20 ISN number I have sent them. What is the title of the of the journal, publication, where it is published, what is the ABDC rank, SGR rank, H index, SI, whatever information it is getting from various databases, it comes at the one place, right? So it says that it is available in the WS, maximum cases, because many are the A-star, and it is not available in UGC Care or UGC clone list. It is not there, right? So this kind of information you can get with the fraction of the seconds if you use this software, right? Then two more searches, it has got one search, it is called text search, because we have got database of the aggregated journals. You can come here and you can have enter any text. Suppose we like social justice, right? So when we say social justice, we search. So it basically reduce the necessity of going to many sites and getting the information. Now about any site, suppose it says peace review, and it is publisher is this, you can select, you can click here and you can get the information about that particular journal, that it is available in English. This is open access source type, but this is also, it is not having any rank in the ABDC. It is available in Web of Science. It is not available anywhere else. So it is available in the Scopus as well as Web of Science. It is not available here, right? Last search is rank search. Rank search is just for example to demonstrate that we can do lots of analysis. It do the reverse thing. It does the rank search. Suppose for example, I want that ABDC rank search. I want the journals from A category, A rank. When I search here, it takes a little time and it will give you the all these journals who are having A rank in the ABDC database. They are listed here. It also says that these journals are available Scopus or WS or in both, all UGC care. So it will tell all the list, and all the journals are selected here, and you can, about any journal you want to know the information, you can click it here and it is here. So about any information, the purpose of the website is, purpose of this work is that you're not going anywhere else. You're not wasting your time in journaling, in searching journals in many places. So this is here from my side, sir. If any question, I can answer.
Thank you, Santulan Chaube sir. Do what you can with what you have, where you are. A thought I would like to leave you with as we come to the fag end of the 3-day conference and the ceremony today. I would now request Dr. Yogesh Snehi, Deputy Dean RNC, to extend the vote of thanks.
So the conference comes to an end, and let me acknowledge all the effort that has gone into making this conference. And to begin with, I would like to thank our Vice Chancellor, Professor Anutin Lathe, because without the encouragement of our Vice Chancellor, this conference wouldn't have been successful, along with the team of our registrar, Dr. Nitin Malik. So these encouragements are absolutely essential for any research institution, any research department to function. And I think we are grateful for both of them, grateful to both of them for extending this encouragement to us. I also thank Professor Sasteketu Sankrit for inaugurating the photo essay exhibition, and the entire staff of the IT department of Ambedkar University, Delhi, including the Director IT, Mr. Taneja, Ramiz, Manas, Mukesh, Vikram, Negiji, Majid, and others who helped us running this conference in a hybrid mode. We actually were fully hybrid, to mention it very specifically. And it was a real challenge and an experiment for us to do that experiment. And I think these things are possible. Though nothing can replace in-person mode, but I think we could navigate larger set of scholarship by bringing a hybrid mode into function. And we are grateful to the IT section for extending their help on a constant basis. We had our faculty members of AOD who chaired our various sessions and gave their very valuable time and comments to the sessions that they were chairing. Dr. Shailaja Menon, Dr. Dheeraj Kumar Knight, Dr. Mamta, Dr. Niharika Banerjee, Dr. Nivedita Sarkar, Professor Nakiran, Dr. Nandini Nayak, Dr. Manish Jain, who actually single-handedly also handled parallel sessions in the Lodi Road campus. We are thankful to him. Dr. Jyotirmay and Dr. Amit Singh for having chaired the session. I chaired one myself. So besides that, we had some very interesting panels, and I believe one of the star attraction in between the panels and towards the end of the day sometimes were these panel discussions. And we had these 3 panel discussions wherein Dr. Moni Malika, Dr. Shivani Nag, Dr. Usha Mudiganti, Professor Anita Ghai, Ms. Shefali Singh, and Professor Tanuja Kotial contributed immensely. To the AIC, whose venue we used as a host, it would not have been possible to organize this in the June heat. So the venue provided us with the comfort of the cooling of the ACs, which actually made this conference a success. Otherwise, would have been struggling with heat most of the times. So to Mr. Sudhir Kant, Dr. Suresh, Sudhakar and Piyush for providing and helping us with the nitty-gritties of the venue on an everyday basis. Besides that, our finance department, particularly Mr. Rajiv Talwar and his entire team, were helpful in scrutinizing the nitty-gritties of funding this particular 3-day research conference, and their able guidance helped us in executing it successfully. So thank to the entire finance team, beside the general administration team, which helped us in setting up the whole thing, right from booking, live streaming, making these things work. The general administration under the leadership of obviously Dr. Nitin Malik, but also our Deputy Registrar, Mr. Bipul Srivastava, Mr. Rajiv Kumar, Yatinder, and several others who helped us in organizing this. Also thank to Ms. Anshu Singh, who from the VC office, Mr. Ravi, for facilitating all public relations and other functions for the conference, and to the entire organizing committee of the conference, which is inclusive of all the program coordinators of the research programs, whom we actually caught on an everyday basis for weeks and weeks to scrutinize abstracts, to think about student volunteers and making this conference a success. And then to all our volunteers who actually wholeheartedly helped us in making this conference success. Whatever planning goes, I don't think without the student volunteers who came and helped us, Bhumika, Aishwarya, Akanksha, Sigda, Simran, Meghal, Aditi, Devanand, Shivani, Surabhi, Manju, Verma, whom sometimes I would say I coerced also into the conference organization, but so happily did their task and did it wholeheartedly. And I'm so thankful. The division is so thankful to them. And then obviously our RNC staff, Mr. Palash, Sonam, Ayushi, and our other staff members, Naveen, Sanjay, Bhupendra Chauhan, all of them actually were very helpful. Besides our sort of staff who helped regular cleaning of the conference venue on an everyday basis, Rekha, Sagar, Kumar, and Mukesh. And finally, to Professor Randeep Guleria, who kindly agreed to give the keynote address, and Professor Virendra Kumar Malhotra, who is there with us today, to give us the valedictory address. Both of them were very enriching experience, and I think a beginning and an end to the conference could not have been better without them. Finally, to end my little vote of thanks with a long list, Professor Geeta Venkatraman, who in a way kind of herded us to the important deadlines while we were relaxing around. And also to Dr. Arindam, who helped us chair the conference and would provide significant academic inputs and directions, and to Dr. Kritika, who is there managing. I don't think it could have been managed without her. So thank you very much once again. And to all the research scholars who came, participated, and made this conference a success. Thank you very much once again.
Thank you, Dr. Snehi. Once again, my heartfelt thanks to all of you who are present here. We are giving out the certificates. We will do session-wise. Day 1. You want to do it? Yeah.
So Sanjana, are you here? Dinesh Kumar Verma. Thank you. Dinesh Kumar Verma. Aishwarya Arora. Alpaksi Kashyap. Viraj. Tripti. Nagwan Singh. Priyanka Kaushik. Prabal Saran Agarwal. Shakirul Hassan. Dheeraj Kumar Sani. Devanand Kamath. Yeah. Also a very dedicated volunteer. Deep Narayan Chatterjee. Yeah. Shabranti Sen. Hafsa Mashroor. Not there. Kashish Pandey. Prerna Rathi. He's here. I don't think she's here. Harshvardhan Tripathi. Rahul. Yes, yeah. Yamini Sharma. Priya Khandelwal. Khushbu. Varsha Jain. Alina Khan. Vachta Tabassum. Swati Chakravarti. Vashta. Vashta. Swati Chakravarti. Akanksha Sudhir Rita. Ajay Kumar Shah. Ratna Bharti. Ajay, yeah. Liz Maria. I think she presented online. Biasu Ram. Ratna, okay. Shivani Yadav. Anandita Sharma. Anandita. Oh, sorry, Anandita. Anandita, that is Vyas's. Krishna Kant Yadav. Anchal Dhiman. Okay, yeah. Deepthi Sachdev. Deepthi Achal, that is Achal. Madhavi Shukla. Yeah. Vipin Patel. Is he there? Ah, yeah, he's there. Okay. Akshay Kumar. Akshay. Shada Banis. Kajal. Rashmi Pal. Shadab. Samyak Jain. Samyak Jain. Pooja Rani. I don't think she is. Survi Pandey. Survi. Survi is also a dedicated volunteer. Thank you. Pia Maria Mali. I'll actually. हमारे में Snigdha, also a very dedicated volunteer. Yeah. Divya Sharma. अच्छा, ठीक है. मानसी मेहता. भारत प्रताप चौहान. रमेश.
Meghal Karki, a dedicated volunteer too. Bhumika Singh, another very dedicated volunteer. Kaushal Bodwal, W. Neetha, Bharira Burman, online. And ma'am, photo essay, Isha Yadav, Sharmila Jojodhai, Archa Bhatnagar, Nikhil Rajesh Kumar, Shadab Anis.
Oh, ये जाना